Welcome to Wavelynx Undercover, the micro podcast where we talk to people from companies who either resell, rebrand, or integrate Wavelynx technologies into their own platforms. I'm your host, Sarah Bowling, and my guest today is Jeff Bransfield from RS2 Technologies. So the second big question, or the second big topic that falls under our campaign for starting here, is OSDP. So like OSDP, Open Supervised Device Protocol. This is the communication protocol du jour. It's become an official standard back in, I think it was officially standardized in 2020, but it's been around, it's been bubbling up for some time. So OSDP addresses a couple of things. One, we're talking about the communication between the reader and the panel, right? We can address the prox problem on the outside of the wall, but what happens when that unsecured data travels between the reader and the access control panel? It too, traditionally, can be unsecure using weekend wire. Those wires are unidirectional in nature and they're unencrypted. They can be easily skimmed, just as easily as a card can be cloned when it's a prox card. So there's been a new wave of upgrades and replacements that not only involve securing that communication by encrypting that communication protocol, but it also involves replacing the panel. So now this is a much bigger conversation that you have to have and your integrators have to have with the end users, right? Now we're saying, remember that perfectly great access control panel I sold you? Well, now it's time to replace it because, well, you explain why. How do you broach that conversation with your customers, and how do you convince them that OSDP is the way they need to go?
Yeah, I mean, look, we sell technology, right? You know, that's what we do, and technology evolves, you know, quickly. And the reason for that evolution is important. You know, the things that the consultant community is doing right now, which has been a fantastic approach towards OSDP. We really thank those guys for getting that message out, really understanding the benefit of OSDP and what it can do, and working with their clients on the major lifts, right? Mm-hmm. You know, those are in process. Those are going down. The large, you know, very secure tip-to-tip encryption conversations are being had at that consultant level, making it easier for us, you know, as manufacturers to really go down that path. So definitely thankful to those guys for helping that. But, you know, really at the end of the day, you know, that's our goal, right? We're in security technology. So, you know, when we know that there's a compromise, you know, possibility, you know, we need to work with our clients, our integrators to address it. So again, back to education, you know, understanding what's needed. It isn't the easiest conversation saying, oh, by the way, you know, yes, you need to change your readers. Yes, you need to change your panels, right? You know, but where we push it is really what the reason is, even beyond encryption, right? Encryption is the most important reason of OSDP. But again, where are we at next year, right? Where are we at 2 years from now? What do we need to do? OSDP really gives us the pathway and the you know, avenue to adopt future technologies in the future with limited effort on the back end, right? If we're in this position to where we need to push out a new technology to the devices, now the infrastructure's in place to be able to do so, you know, from a UI, instead of, you know, sending a tech around with config cards and doing all these different things, right? So, you know, those are important messages to get across that, you know, I hate the word future proof, right? But that's really what it is. It's being able to have that, you know, discussion about infrastructure planning and where OSDP, you know, builds into that.
I think the way, you know, we like to approach it, being aware that OSDP upgrades are very prevalent and necessary in a lot of cases. From our perspective, we make the widget on the wall, right? So we want to make this process as easy and seamless and affordable as possible. So when I'm working with your team, I come to this from the approach of, well, let's start with the Wavelynx reader. Let's take care of the prox problem on the outside of the wall, install the Wavelynx reader on your traditional weekend wires that are still there. Let's take care of that problem first. Let's secure the outside. Then when your customer is ready and they've budgeted for the panel upgrade, The readers are already in place. You can keep those same wires that you were using for weekend communication protocol and simply attach them to your new OSDP intelligent panel. We don't need to take out the wires. And what's even better, which I'm seeing and learning from our integrators as the best total cost to serve benefit for them, is there's no last labor leg involved because Wavelynx readers are bilingual. They have an OSDP auto detect feature. It means once you've plugged in that OSDP panel, the Wavelynx reader doesn't need a final flash. You don't need to roll that truck out to do a firmware or config change to that reader. It just automatically starts speaking OSDP. So your system is good to go. And then, like you said, with your OSDP panel having these new intelligent features, if and when a time comes that we need to do a firmware update at the readers, or we want to reconfigure it to read different keys, you can bootload that out. You can send that out from the panel, and that total cost to serve benefit is massive for the integrator. So I think all in all, it becomes, again, total cost to own for the end user. Those are great selling features for an OSDP panel.
Yeah, that saves so much time, and really getting our integrators and end users to understand why we're doing these steps, right? You know, why do you need to change the reader, you know, to support this technology? Why do you need to have conversations about multi-technology in a reader or multi-technology in a card? And then when you finally get to that piece of changing the panel to support OSDP, which, you know, every Series 3 Mercury board can do now, you know, once you finally get to that piece, now it's so much easier to turn off that low frequency procs, right? You know, just through commands, you know, set those encryption keys, you know, in the reader, you know, from the UI. So really giving you a lot more flexibility from the chair, you know, and now I don't need to onboard a team of 20 technicians to go around and power cycle a reader. Okay, get on the CB or the cell phone and say, okay, are you ready? Okay, present the card, you know, do that process anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that's old school now.
So what's the name of your what's the model for your OSDP panel that you guys are selling?
So we code to the Mercury panel. So, you know, HID, you know, Mercury, they make the Series 3 products. So the red boards, you know, per se. So all of the Series 3 panels, all of those red boards support on every reader port now, full OSDP support. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So have you had much success? Are you guys out there? Yeah, you're deploying.
We really have. A lot of the really higher end clients are coming to us saying, look, this is something we care about. We don't want any pen test, you know, faults at all. You know, we want to be able to say and provide the documentation that we are completely compliant with all of these protocols that, you know, we are now needing to do, right? You know, our goal is to have a system, you know, in place to where from the hand of the card holder to the hand of the keyboard, right, it's encrypted, you know, and I can't help the humans, right, outside of the humans, but I can touch everything else. So, you know, that's really our goal, is tip to tip.